Welcome to Nach Simanim. I am Jacob Thomas, and today we will be learning Shmuel Bet, perek Gimel. We begin this perek as the long war between David and Ishbosheth continues. David starts to grow stronger. His men are stronger and more powerful, and the house of Shaul with Ishbosheth begins to create divisions within, weakening it. Now, David establishes his throne in Hebron. There is a breaking point where Ishbosheth accuses his own general, Avner, of taking his father, Shaul's concubines. Now, Avner is deeply insulted by this and is wondering, how in the world can you say your greatest general, who I'm the only reason you're king, is doing this horrible thing? Because of this, Avner cuts off his ties with Ishbosheth and transfers his allegiance to David. He sends a message to David to create an alliance. David agrees on one condition. Avner must bring Michal, David's first wife that he bought or married from Shaul, with 100 plishti foreskins. We had on perek Yud Chet. Now, after Michal is returned, Avner arrives in Hebron with 20 men, and David gives them a lavish feast. And they establish a covenant. And Avner leaves in peace to rally the rest of the tribes under David HaMelech, because Avner has a lot of influence. Yeah, not the best picture for this. Now, Yoav returns from battle and is angry to learn that Avner, who killed Esael, his brother, was allowed to leave in peace without David killing him. And Yoav is convinced that Avner is a spy. Without David's knowledge or consent, Yoav secretly sends messengers to bring Avner back. And when Avner arrives in the gates of Hebron, Yoav takes him aside, pretends that he's his best friend. And while Avner has his guard down, Yoav stabs him in the fifth rib to avenge Esael. Now, David learns of this, and he's horrified, and he publicly declares that he is innocent before people can think that he wanted this. And he curses Yoav's household and creates a public mourning and laments Avner's death, demonstrating to all of Israel that he wanted peace and not ruthlessness. Perek, as a recap, we have the rift that forms between Ishbosheth and his general Avner. We have David making a pact with Avner on the condition that his wife Michal's returned to him, and the feast that he makes. We have Yoav acting without David's permission and killing Avner in deceit to avenge Esael, and we have the public funeral and lament that David gives over Avner. We're in perek Gimel, so just like Zichru, we use a camel. The strong kingly camel is able to overpower the weaker camel. This reminds us how in this perek we begin to shift tides, and the house of David becomes much, much stronger than the house of Shaul, which has divisions within it and also is just weaker in general. And this also reminds us how Avner switched sides because of said divisions to join David, which also helps make him more powerful. The strong kingly camel is able to overpower the weaker camel. We're going to now do a 4-perek back chazar, starting with perek Lamed, which we use a melamed, a teacher. David hires a teacher for the children he rescued from captivity. This reminds us how after David was kicked out from the army of the Plishtim, he comes home to find his city destroyed and mourns the destruction, but then goes to try to kill the Amalekim who destroyed the city, finds an Egyptian slave, and kills all the Amalekim, saves the people, and splits the prophets. Now, perek lamed aleph, in which we use a judge. Lamed aleph, law, judge. The judge pronounces the death of the king. This reminds us how, as prophesied in perek chaf chet, Shaul has a battle with the Plishtim, and in said battle, his kids die. He's wounded, and he falls upon his sword after his arms bearer refuses to kill him. Now, perek aleph of Shmuel bet, in which we use an olive tree. As tears come out of the olive tree, he tears his garments over the death of Shaul. This reminds us how an Amaleki, or Ger Amaleki, came to David HaMelech and tells him that how Shaul had died. David hears this and cries and laments the death because he's very sad, and then kills the Amaleki. Now, perek beis, in which we use a house. A split begins between the house of David and the house of Ishbosheth. This reminds us how David becomes king over Hebron, while Ishbosheth, with Avner's help, becomes king over the rest of Israel. There's 2 kings anointed, and there's the deadly battle at Givon. We're going to now do a 10-question pop quiz. In which perek does King Shaul and his sons tragically die in battle? Perek lamed aleph. In which perek does Avner defect and promise the kingdom to David? Perek gimel. Which perek does Avner appoint Ishbosheth as king, splitting the nation? Perek beis. In which perek does David compose his famous lament for Shaul and Yonatan? Perek aleph. In which perek does Shaul consult the witch of Endor before the battle? Perek chaf chet. In which perek does Yoav secretly assassinate Avner at the city gates? Perek gimel. In which perek does David rescue the captives from the Amalekim? Perek lamed. In which perek is the deadly battle at the pool of Givon occur? Perek beis. In which perek does King Achish dismiss David from the Plishti army? Perek chaf chet. In which perek does Devorah sing her epic song of victory? Perek hey. That is it for today. May we be zocheh to finish all of Nach, one perek at a time, and remember it day after day. Have a wonderful day.